Hi, this is Dan. I watched a video by David Pakman, a left-leaning YouTube influencer, yesterday, and he brought up some important points. I'll link to the video in the description below. But he asked some interesting questions about the upcoming No Kings protest. He did say that it's important, and it is very important, but he pointed out what he thought were a couple of problems. He pointed out that these protests are mostly symbolic and may not be influential in actually creating change. And he pointed to like a carnival type atmosphere where he thought that in order to make change, you really need to make people uncomfortable, which is partially true. But he thought this, just the mere symbolism itself really wasn't helpful. So he asked the question, what is the goal? What is the specific focus of the protests? What is the, as he puts it, what's the ask of the people doing the protests? And these are great questions, good questions. I've been studying civil resistance for the last few months now. I'm certainly no expert at it, but I'm diving in, trying to learn as much as I can. And here's what's become very clear to me. Protests or demonstrations can be both symbolic and instrumental. They tend to be more of one than the other, but they can be both. The symbolic part of the No Kings protests really shows unity. It shows numbers. It shows those on the other side that we're not afraid, and we have the numbers. The popular sentiment is behind us. This is what we want. But instrumentally, the question is, what concrete actions or outcomes will be a result of these protests? Now, I'll admit the No Kings protests are primarily symbolic, but that's still really important. But the primary instrumental effect of these protests is to bring people into the movement, bring the bodies in that can then connect with other groups, typically smaller local groups, some national, that are doing the instrumental work, making people uncomfortable, challenging the status quo, throwing sand in the gears of the fascist machinery, things like that. It could be as simple as immigrant rights groups informing immigrants of their rights, warning neighborhoods where ICE is operating so people can stay indoors and stay out of harm's way. It could be as simple as voter registration drives. We have elections coming up in early November, mostly for local races. These can be extremely important. We need to have people in office that'll stand up to this regime and do the right thing locally. So it's really important that we get people registered and voting this coming November. It could be like something I'm working on, Velo Airlines. Although they operate commercial flights, they've also signed a contract with the government to operate deportation flights. We want them to cancel that contract and stop deporting people and violating their due process rights. So those are some instrumental things that the local groups can do that are extremely important. So the No Kings protest doesn't need to be narrowly focused. It doesn't have to have a specific ask or a specific goal. Just like in war, the first thing you need to do is you need to get the bodies in the door. You need to create mass. Then you train those people. You equip them to make them an effective force. But you got to have the mass first. And that's what the No Kings protests are doing. They're bringing people in the door, they're creating the mass, and then people can go from there to do more instrumental things like I mentioned. Now, I use the war metaphor because, well, frankly, I think we are in a war. We're fighting for the same thing that our founders fought for in the Revolutionary War. We're fighting for the same things that our fathers and grandfathers stormed the beaches of Normandy for. We're fighting to save democracy. And it's really important that we think of it in terms of fighting for these core principles. What we have to remember is unlike actual warfare, we need to remain nonviolent. It's extremely important that we be nonviolent for two good reasons. One, the violence is counterproductive to our cause. It drives people away from our side. It increases the cost for people. It justifies repression on the other side. It makes the other side more entrenched and angry. Violence is completely counterproductive. Therefore, we need, for practical purposes, to be completely nonviolent. By the way, nonviolent movements are also twice as likely to succeed as violent movements. So, from all practical standpoint, being nonviolent is super important. The second reason is it's morally the right thing to do. It's not right to hurt people. It's not right to destroy property. We need to remain nonviolent in order to maintain the high moral ground. Now, Trump and his minions have shown that they're more than willing to be violent, to violate the law even, to try to repress our free speech, and he's calling, for example, Antifa and even atheists, for that matter, terrorists. It's crazy. That's a pretext for using violence against us, and that's going to backfire on them. So we need to make sure that we are nonviolent. If they're violent, then they're going to drive more people to our side. We're going to get more power from it, and that's going to be an important difference. So get involved. Do what you can. Take the risks that you're comfortable with. Do something. Drag your neighbors, drag your friends, drag your family to the protest. Connect with other people. Do the work. This is going to be a long fight. This may actually take years to accomplish, but we will win because of your efforts.